Yo, Joe. Welcome back to No Strokes Podcast. It's good to see your face again. It's been a week.
Buddy.
You know, summer's hard to podcast with families. Wives don't totally get it. We're trying to golf. We're all trying to get our game together for the No Strokes golf trip we're about to go in. Today's show is going to be a fun one. You got Cousin Cael, who's mentioned all the time. I've never met. I've only heard the legend of Cousin Cael, who's going to be calling in live from the 18th hole of the BMW Championship. And, you know, I think we have a lot to talk about with Scottie Scheffler. I want to call you out on something that you called me out on a few weeks ago. We'll deal with that after Cael. I want to get your take on it and see if your opinion has changed now with the time and things. In general, it was a really fun first tournament. We're going to talk about Rory McIlroy deciding he doesn't give a shit. That's a whole nother story and sub-subject. I am not going to lie. I'm so excited about this whole thing.
What is your thought, Scott, on Rory? And listen, this is just dead of summer, only sports going on are golf, which for us is great, but for most sports fans, I think everyone is bored and waiting for football. But I saw more than one person mention that Rory clearly didn't want to play in the playoff events other than the Tour Championship, and I think the new CEO Rolap just probably forced his hand and said, "Hey, you're coming to St. Jude," and he played like a guy that didn't want to be there and didn't give a shit, and it
was super obvious. Super obvious.
But you've pegged Rory in our gambling manifesto that we're gonna. No. Yes.
I'm not pegging anybody. Just to be clear,
you've pegged him from a gambling standpoint. Let's get your mind out of the gutter. Although I don't know if your mind ever leaves the gutter, but
I live perpetually in the gutter, Joe.
In the manifesto, we need to write on that hey. If there is a tournament, I think this is Rory's thing now. If it's not a major or a national open or the players, don't bet him. He doesn't give a shit.
Oh yeah, he doesn't care at all. And at the end of the season finale, after the FedEx Cup is determined, we will do our manifesto and show on it. I don't want to keep people waiting. We got Cousin Cael just left. Text him back. Get him back on the line. Oh, here he comes. All right, we're gonna let Cousin Cael in here. Get a little intro. We're going to talk a little bit about next week's tournament, and then we'll go back and we'll cover all the things that we haven't talked about the last 2 weeks. So without further ado, the one and only Cousin Cael. I hope he's coming in hot. Is he wearing a shirt
Cousin
even?
Cael.
Right, we're back.
The infamous Cousin Cael. The infamous Cousin Cael.
So,
all right.
Scott did give you a little bit of intro, Cousin Cael, but for our listeners, right, Cousin Cael is the guy that's been mentioned on No Strokes more than pretty much anyone else, save Rory or Scottie or Cam Young. He is a guy that works for the BMW Championship, year number 11 for Cousin Cael, so he's going to be giving us a boots on the ground report of what's going on with the course. Is it soft? Is it firm? What's everyone saying on site, and he's going to give us a couple picks. Spoiler alert, one of them will be Tommy Ladd because he is the number one Tommy Fleetwood fan in the golf world, so we'll let him cook a little bit in the lab on Tommy and whoever else he's got for us. But Cousin Cael, welcome to the show, my friend. How are things going at Bellerive and down in St. Louis?
Well, thank you for having me. First time caller, long time listener to the boys, so appreciate having me on. We've been down here for about a week now. Golf course is in phenomenal shape. Membership, they cut out play a couple weeks ago, which always helps in terms of getting the course ready for these guys. Being Monday, the players are starting to funnel in from Memphis. It's been super hot here, but surprisingly, it's probably cooler than what we saw at Memphis. And thankful we didn't have to see any Lucas Glover action in Memphis with that last week.
Dude, that's exactly who I thought about this weekend with how hot it was when he won there a couple of years ago and just looked like the sweatiest person to ever play golf.
Just a what should have been a tailor-made sponsorship for Dude Wipes, but no, run down to the golf course. I mean, Bellerive, this is just an absolute ball striker's paradise. Off the tee, it's not too difficult in terms of fairway width or finding them, but I'd say that's maybe one of the biggest defenses out here is the rough is going to be really penal. So, give me those bombers. I'm looking at those guys that strokes gained off the tee, ball striking. This is right up our guys' alleys of a Ludvig that's tailor made, that was born in the lab, just like this golf course is for guys like that.
They don't teach winning in the lab, though, Cousin Cael, unfortunately for
That's
Ludvig.
as
Shots
similar
fired.
to Tommy led. It's unfortunately some reason I've developed this thing for golfers. It just they'll play great Thursday to Saturday, and Sunday just absolutely throw up on themselves. So
You and I
uh,
both. The story of Joe and
yeah,
I's lives.
it's so
So Kale, with the setup, right? So you made mention. So what? Fairways are wide, but once you get into the rough, it's punitive, but long golf course too here, right? Like I think they're playing at just under 7,500 yards.
yeah. So think similar to Olympia. So it's traditionally like member play. It's par 72, but then they'll convert two of the par fives into fours. So that's hole 4 and then 10 that are normally, par fives for us. They'll flip them to a 4. So again, Olympia is similar, par 70. So I like that as a comp. Um,
Hey, wait,
so
cousin Kale, not to interrupt you, but who won at Olympia Fields back in 2023?
I
Who
mean, one
was
of the
that?
all-time great Sunday rounds by Mr. Victor Hovland.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As we've talked about on the show here, one of the few guys that goes toe to toe with Scottie and can beat Scottie toe to toe, and he did that 3 years ago at Olympia Field. So I love that course comp. I agree with you on that, 100%.
Yeah.
He did it a
So
few weeks
it's
ago, too, so he definitely
yeah.
can.
He did. He did.
Yeah. So give me those, off the tee, greens. They're fairly large, but they're pretty conjured. So they're going to tuck these pins in spots where you need those guys that they're hitting from a long distance, 175 and up, but to tight spaces. So again, find your long iron players that you like this week too, when they're finding fairways.
Yeah, elite irons, and I just look at this. I think not to toot the BMW Championships horn too much, but you guys just pick great courses, right? I think you tend to find the courses that have kind of the same blueprint, bent grass, space, right, which is what Bellerive is, long and major caliber, right, which is what you're getting at Bellerive, right? The last major championship that we saw here was 2018. Kepka fending off Tiger, but like I'd have to imagine that is contributing to some of the buzz this week, is just being on a course that not only has hosted a PGA Championship but has hosted two U.S. Opens,
Mm-hmm.
hosted the Western Open back in the 50s, which is obviously that was the BMW Championship. That's what we grew up knowing was the Western Open. So what's the buzz there, right? Is everyone just super excited to see how the top 50 guys handle a major caliber test this weekend?
It's for me personally, it's going to be one of my favorite in terms of sites we've been at, golf courses. Love this place outside of being surrounded by just thousands of Cardinals fans, but that's another story there. But
It'd be
Buzz has
perfect.
been, yeah. uh, like we had a opening drive event yesterday. That's the first time we've ever done something on a Sunday, just open to the public for merch. Had probably 4,000 or 5,000 people out here. Um, so I think it's going to be big crowds similar to that PGA in 2018. Now, sure, that helps when you got Kepka and the Big Cat going at it, but um, you know, the buzz has been really good around St. Louis, and that's why we love spots like this when we're the new shiny toy in town of, outside of a Chicago and New York that you have every sport going on. This is the big thing happening this year and for the last couple of years building up to it.
I love it. And what's the forecast look like? Is there rain in the forecast? Is it going to be?
So,
Are we looking
yeah,
at fast and firm or soft? Give
it's
us a little
we got a
intel
little
there.
bit of it had been hot all last week. We got some rain last night. I think there's some potential maybe Tuesday night into Wednesday, Thursday morning. So, if it's firm and fast, I think that brings more guys into play. But if it's softer, again, then I tend to lean to guys that distance is going to be a big advantage where you can bomb it out there. And again, it's not a bomb it and wedge and putt contest, but distance is big, playing, and as you mentioned, where it's close to 7,500 yards. But I think maybe some rain Tuesday, Wednesday, then the rest of the weekend we're looking pretty good.
Love it. And all right, so this is your 11th BMW Championship. We're not getting to your picks yet, but like who, if you could just, and it can't be Tommy Lad, but like who are you rooting for? You've seen kind of a random collection of winners. I think as long as it's not Cantlay, you're probably going to be pretty happy. But is there like is there a favorite that you have, having worked for the tournament for so long and seen so many different winners over the past 10 years?
Right, where it could be a good launching pad. Like I know obviously Ludvig's won Farmers when it was at, or maybe that was the Genesis at Torrey, where I think, he's one where I still feel like you need some big wins to come. Like I think he's just a favorite of most people to win. Scottie's great. He won last year, but I'm looking for something else there. Trying to think in terms of guys, it's Ludvig would be up there for me in terms of just personal favorites. On the American side, I'm a big, maybe Sahith might be my favorite American, but he's going to be nowhere near my card this week. But always,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what happened to him in Memphis, but it was very, very ugly. So
Yeah.
I like Sahith too, but he's searching for something. I'm with you. I don't know. I've always just ever since Ludvig came on the scene, he just seems kind of like Victor too. I just like Ludvig just seems like a guy that like I don't know if it's just the brand that is BMW and like it's a glitzy tournament and he's kind of the glitzy golfer. It's always seemed to kind of jive where it's like I think he's going to win at least one BMW championship and hey, this weekend might be the one.
Yeah. And I think what was cool last year too, now help
Nice.
being there we go. Love it, Scotty.
Does that belong to one of your like 500 putters, Scott?
Conway, what year, Conway?
Yeah. That was the last time you were at Conway when they still had, Matt Slowinski.
2017.
Yeah, Slowinski and Harlan were the pros there at the time. Yeah, that belongs to the Yamada since we're just sticking around.
All right. And 2017, so that would have been a little shrimp on the Barbie, Mark Leishman. Forgotten name.
Look at you. All right, hold on, Cousin Cael.
That was the Jason Day one, wasn't it? When was Jason Day?
Because
he was
2015.
Wait, hold on, Scotty.
The one I went to got this was 15 then, because it was I just remember distinctly Jason Day. We got invited to hang out at like in the clubhouse and stuff with the guys, and then Day and his wife and his like the nanny were hanging out on the green. They came out like they were the nicest people of all time. I forget who the player was that was doing really well on the last day. Back nine screwed up and like walked outside. I won't even name the player if I knew him. He walked outside, took his 3-wood, spiked the son of a bitch on the ground enough times until it basically shattered all over the parking lot. And so I never forgot. That was a great time. Had a lot of drinks. Good times. He had a lot. I remember he came back after that and he had a lot of drinks and was like the nicest fucking guy ever too. So, it happens to all of us.
Golf's a tough game. So, all right,
Yes.
Cousin Cael, you've got the sports almanac in your brain. Can you give us every winner of the BMW since you started working for the tournament?
We started 2016. We were back at our roots at Crooked Stick in Indianapolis. So that was DJ. But
Wow.
I'd say as a 23-year-old, I was probably most excited about Paulina there on the 18th green. So
as a
that was probably.
I'm still most excited about Paulina there on the green.
Yeah, and that leads me. I think who's the biggest talent out there? I like what Wyndham's got on his bag. Not his caddy, but in terms of talent out here. So we'll see. Stay tuned. So 16 DJ, 2017 Leishman, 2018 was our first ever Monday finish with Keegan taking down
Nice.
Rosie in a playoff.
Yeah, and that was when Rose was number one in the world.
Yeah, it was pretty much Rosie and Koepka kind of in that couple of years. 2019, we're going back to Chicago at Medina with JT.
Very good, yeah.
2020, maybe our best finish with the Rom to be beating DJ in a playoff in COVID. was unreal
I
with that.
still remember that because didn't DJ make like a 50-footer to bring it to a playoff, and then
Yeah,
Rahm hit like a 70-footer to win it in
right.
the first playoff hole?
Yep, nailed it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Look at the
Unbelievable.
two memories on this family. Jesus Christ.
hmm But
Love it.
after a few bevies during Mary Moran, that memory goes down. But um, the post Rom, so 21. This is the start of, unfortunately, the Patty
Yeah.
Ice era with
Yeah. Brutal era. Brutal
yeah,
era.
Can't lay in 21 at Caves Valley, and then in Delaware at Wilmington, and then obviously our boy Vic in 23 at Olympia, then Captain Keegan in Castle Pines in Denver, and then obviously back to Scheffler last year at Caves again.
That was very impressive, Cousin
Yeah,
Cael. That was
thank you.
very impressive.
So it's a good run on
One
different guys. So I think hopefully in for a new winner this week.
I mean, one glaring name that's missing from that list is Rory. Like not winning. I mean, Scott and I were just kind of talking how he had checked out of the St. Jude, and basically we said in our gambling manifesto, unless it's a major or a national open or the players, you probably don't bet him. But like BMW to me, that's a big tournament, right? Big course, big tournament. Like it surprising to me that he hasn't been in that winner circle the last 10 years.
No, no, I think he was 2012 was when he won at Crooked Stick.
Yeah, too long.
Yeah, yeah.
Needless to say, we won't have our money on Rory this week.
No.
I think he's a
All right,
good
cousin.
fade spot.
All right, cousin Cael, you've given us some good intel. You've kind of sprinkled the stats that we should be honing in on as we make our card for the BMW. Give us a top 10, a top 5, and your one and done.
Top 10, top 5. Well, I'll say the guys I like. Ludvig, we've already talked about. Again, looking at your ball strikers, iron play, the two names that jump out, I'd say probably Xander's a guy that I feel like's been kind of just on the radar,
Hanging.
hasn't won this year. And I'm wouldn't say I'm the biggest Xander guy, but I just feel like he's trending and again, it's a big boy golf course. That's a name I like there. The other one is, and he's burned me a lot. Uh, Most recently in Phoenix this year is Hideki. I want to say he's got
Yeah,
4 straight top tens. Um,
yeah, yeah,
so he's trending. We say a guy that you think of a long iron player, that guy is an assassin. So I'd say those guys have kind of fit the mold of Hideki, Xander, and Ludwig. The long shots, I'd
and
say.
then
So, or go ahead.
and then of course Tommy.
There's not a world I want to live in where I'm on the green Sunday night at Bellerive, handing over a
And he
trophy to Tommy, and I don't have a ticket in my pocket, and that's just
got it.
I'm
You
happy to
have
make
to.
the donation. Yeah, we
You're
can't
pot
live in that
committed.
world.
Another name that has been hot lately is Siwoo Kim. He just seems like he's just on it and is just on a bender and just hasn't been able to quite flip the switch on it. But I like him as well. On your way out, I just have one. I had one question for you because I think fondly of the BMW. I used to have a BMW, so whenever it was in Chicagoland, I could go and I could park really close. I have great stories. I have a story almost getting run over by Luke Donald, resulted in a signed golf ball. Thank you, Luke Donald, Northwestern graduate. It's always been a lot of fun for me because it's a Chicago. There's always been a Chicago tournament for many of the years. There's, for some reason, the BMW feels like a larger than a normal, not just because of the FedEx Now, but it always felt like an elevated event to me. What do you think makes the BMW Championship so special, other than the obvious it's on the way to collect the $10 million check? Why is it that way? It's for some reason it has always felt very elevated, prestigious. BMW obviously as a name is probably another big part of that. It just feels like a BMW.
Well, that's you got to fit along with their brand. So it's they put out a big paycheck to put their name on this tournament. So it's you're going to come out and it's not going to say another tournament where you've got expo space as soon as you're walking in, right? So like you just don't see that coming out here. But going back, Co's mentioned like the places we go to are these courses with history, but again they're not played that often. 2018, so that'll be 8 years. So it's really good markets and tournaments. I'm biased. Our team is really good. We've got one of the best operations guys going where just the setup, of venues, you're out here, you're on top of players. I think that's the cool thing of golf where you can be a general spectator up to someone that's got hospitality and you're right on top of them. So it's just a combination of things, but, being a playoff event, you get the big name still. So, again, I'm always a little biased with our event.
Oh, you guys do a phenomenal job. Going out to Conway Farms years ago, unbelievable. Olympia
Yeah.
Fields, I mean, you hooked me up at Olympia Fields for that Friday, and I still remember being able to stand on the 18th tee box and being super close to Rom and Scottie. They were playing together. I mean, it's a great tournament. I love that you always, it's the second to last tournament of the season, and it feels like the last tournament of the year because you still 50 is still, a good number. I mean, they've changed the rules with the Tour Championship now. Thank God they got away from the first place starts at 10 under. But like, I don't know. I just feel like BMW is kind of that last big tournament feel. The Tour Championship with only 30 guys just doesn't seem to do it for the majority of golf fans. Do you guys know what, like with what Rolap announced earlier this year with kind of the two different tours and like the elevated events and then the secondary events? Do you like is the future of the BMW still the second to last event of the season, or is there conversation that needs to be happened on what the place of the BMW is going into 2028?
Yeah, as much as I'd love to say being here 11 years, I know everything. Definitely not the case, but I think the good thing of what we've heard, at least just from our higher ups, is I think we'll still be that second to last playoff event where it leads to after. Um, the exciting part is maybe potentially our field gets expanded. Um,
Agreed.
so I think again BMW is a unreal title sponsor. You've seen a few name changes with venues for next year and events, but what I know is I think we're still in that playoff rotation. I think second to last. And unfortunately, I think the reason being out of Chicago is just because they've got President's Cup this year. So you never want to have a
Yeah.
big two events within really 3 or 4 years because for us, we're selling it 2, 3 years out. So you don't want the overlap. So I think that's why you'll see us back in Chicago here in the next few years, hopefully.
Love it. You guys need
Awesome.
to
Yeah.
be back in Chicago. I mean, that's what the Western Open was Chicago, right? I mean, for so many years. That was at Cog Hill, and I think that's part of why I love the BMW Championship, as Scott was saying, right? Like you just associate Chicago with it, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
would love to have you guys back in Chicagoland, and thanks for the time, Cousin Cael. I can't wait to watch these 4 days, some of my favorite 4 days in all of golf, and let's make some money this weekend, man. Let's go Ludvig.
Hopefully make some money. We'll maybe we're going to parlay that with our Hoosiers making the playoffs again this year. I think that's a nice way
I
to
mean,
juice things up.
I 1,000% agree. I mean, because that's easy money, but we've got to get a plus sign in front of that, and the way to
Hmm.
do that is a little parlay action. So I like that.
Yeah.
Love it, Cousin Cael. Thank you, man. Good luck with everything this week.
Thank you, boys, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of
Thank you,
course.
Scott.
Thank you.
Take
Take care,
care.
buddy.
See ya.
All right. I'm excited about it. I think before we get into the rest of our picks, I'm going to guess we're probably going to be pretty aligned with Cael on most of this, but I do want to go back and talk about St. Jude. I want to talk about Scottie. I want to talk a little bit about the conversation around the young guns. We left off before you had your staycation and we didn't do our show. And I had, I'm going to say I'm kind of glad we didn't do the show because I had a lot of thoughts coming into the week and I hadn't quite crystallized. And I felt like if I said it right or wrong, it's gonna come out the wrong way. And now having had this tournament specifically, this FedEx starting, it crystallized everything in my head. So I want to start there, and then we'll go to the Scottie piece. A lot has been made of the young guns, Jackson Koiven, who frankly looked really good this weekend. He had to do like a T7 in order to move on. So you can hardly blame the guy, for not making it to the next round. But a lot of people in the golf media world And don't get me wrong, I'm excited about it, right? Like we talk about this all the time. I love these young guns, Michael Brennan. Like I love all the dudes, the Thor, everybody. But when you're playing the back end of the season, and a lot of the bigger players have already, where they're going to fall in the top 15 to top 20 for the FedEx Cup is already kind of situated. The majors are over. It's time to lick your wounds. It's time to go home and see your family. It's time to do a lot of things. They've done, some of them, like Scottie, front-loaded their signature event schedule so that this is not quite, mandatory. They've had kind of, most of these guys have, picked their spots. The fields aren't as strong. There's a lot more younger dudes. And the funny thing is I noticed when I was watching the last 2 or 3 tournaments where we had 3 young guys in a row win, it reminded me, with the exception of the American Express that Scottie won, which was oddly enough the only one and done that I picked Scottie on was the one he won, and everyone laughed at me for using him that early, was that the early winners and the names we talked about was the Matt McNeely and the Cooties and all the, got an early start. The younger guys were winning in the beginning and they're winning the end, but the middle was dominated by the Cam Young conversation, the Fitzpatrick conversation. Scottie was number 2 pretty much all year long. We'll get into that in a second. I feel like, as excited as I am, I actually hope some of these guys do the TGL stuff this offseason to get to know them a little bit better. Because excited as I am about the young guns, I think we need to tap the brakes just a smidge. So I feel like once you get to things like the St. Jude and you start to see those guys line up against the big dogs,
for sure.
How many people advanced who was out of the running to go to next week? How many? Do you know the number? How many people? I believe it's just one, isn't it, Sanjay? Like one person. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. That was outside that got in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just think, I think that we want this narrative. We heard the story 52 times. We heard the Smalley and his mom's story. We heard every story imaginable to try to build these guys up. And in the end, when you watch it, you go look at the leaderboard Sunday. You saw Scottie pull away from the field like you haven't seen since Tiger. Well, since Scottie did it by 8 a couple years ago. You saw our real talent that you and I have picked and missed most of the year. You saw Hovland have unfortunately, a Hovlandy day. You saw Burns, unfortunately, have kind of a Burnsy Sunday. You saw Hideki make his run. You saw Siwoo Kim, who's been hot lately, so I'll take him as an asterisk. Im, who I called before this tournament, was one of my picks to click on a top 5, landed that. Other than that, anyone who was in that top 22, 18, I don't mean in the FedEx points, I mean in the actual tournament, St. Jude.
Yeah.
If you were 18 to 23, 27, you dropped off. Almost everyone, Koivu included, they shot -2 or whatever. I love where we're going, but I just want to make sure that we're not trying to replace the current stars by adding these new ones and forget that we have a Scottie Scheffler who has won, 5 tournaments, however many years. He is on a run that is Tiger-esque, and we've kind of moved on from it because he didn't win a bunch this year. So
yeah, I mean, I think he reminded us all of what he's been the last 2 years, right? He's the guy. You just don't see it very often where a guy can win by 8 shots. And not only did he win by 8 shots, he did it against the top 70 on the tour, right? So it wasn't like it's not like he went to, because he does play some of the random tournaments, right? He plays in Houston, he played in Minneapolis at the
Texas.
3M. He didn't do this at one of those tournaments where it was like he was kind of the lone top guy that went. He did this with everyone that could be in the field was there, and he beat the shit out of them. And I know you called it. You saw the field great. You bought his contracts on Wednesday night. It crystallized for you Wednesday. For me, unfortunately, I think the theme of 2026 is always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I just seem to be able to pick top 2, top 3 guys. I just can't get them over the finish line.
Why are you not wrapping a top 5 on these? I do.
Okay.
You're talking about missing the big money. You're missing the big money.
Yes, I do wrap top 5s with these, right? So I'm making
paying for the bet, basically.
I'll tell you this, right? Going into yesterday, I had the possibility of, I had a 3-leg parlay of Burns winning, Hovland top 10, Ricky top 20 that was like 270 to 1. Going into Sunday, Ricky was tied for 20th, Hovland was 10th, and Burns was 2nd. So I'm like, hey, I have an outside chance at this. Plus, I had other tickets on Burns. What's crazy, and I don't want to, I know you want to still talk Scottie, but like to go on Burns for a little bit. He played a perfect round of golf on Saturday. 0 bogeys, 8 birdies, almost tied the course record that Scottie had shot on Friday. And the fact that Scottie did that on Friday with 2 bogeys, fucking ridiculous. Like 11 birdies in that round, unbelievable.
I went 4 under with the bogey off a sprinkler head.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yesterday, yeah, but like here's the thing with I mean, we've seen this with Burns now a couple of times. We've seen it with Ludvig. We saw it with Brennan until Brennan finally got over the hump at Wyndham, which was awesome. But like Burns has some Sunday issues because I don't know how you go from the golfer that I watched on Saturday to what he did on Sunday. Like, listen, he's going toe-to-toe with Scottie. First 2 holes, they're feeling each other out. They both par. It's fine. Burns is still 2 back. And he goes to that par 5, terrible drive, right? Has to lay up. I think he hits it, punches it out 80 yards out of the trees to the fairway, 190 yards to the green. And, dude, he wasn't even close on that 6-iron. It's like, I mean, he didn't barely go into the water there. Like, that was like, I mean, Colt Nose said, he's like, that wasn't even close. So, like, I don't know what's going on with him on Sundays because, like, he hasn't folded like that before. Like, in the majors, he hasn't gotten it done, but he also hasn't, like, completely shit the bed. He shit the bed yesterday. So I don't know what's going on with him.
But he did and he didn't. Because, I mean, he clearly did. He did, and then he kind of came back, and there was a brief period of time where there was only a couple strokes again between them, and then Scottie's bad last 5 holes, he went on a run. It's like he tries to do too much. You know, the funny thing is, if I had to like call it out, it's the exact opposite of our boy Ludvig, who we just talked about. Ludvig never tries. It looks like he's just on autopilot. He's just like, the game comes to me. The scores come to me the way the game comes to me. He doesn't have the ability to turn it on or off. And it seems like Burns is the kind of guy who comes in and is like, I'm going to make things happen. I have all the game and can do it. And when it happens, it's great. And when it doesn't happen, it's not. When he's playing and shooting 61, I think he's just a couple of shots are falling his way. So when you see him going for it, you see him aggressive with like 125 and a flip wedge. When you see him going for it, when he's down a couple and he's not playing his best golf, then that shot looks like going for it means going from 251 over water, trying to stick a green and make a putt. And the difference is that you miss on one, it's a par. You miss on the other, it's a bogey or a double bogey. He seems to set himself up in bad ways. And, of course, that means he's not bringing his A game to the table in those days. And that, you know, that's what we've talked about before. Is incredible putter, and somehow that's the thing that he's, you know, the last
that's like
two. Other than yesterday, the last 2 memories you have of Burns not winning is the dude who's the best putter on earth, maybe, holding a putter.
Until the back nine. Until the back nine of a major, and then he can't pull a putt. And you know what, yesterday, a couple things. Great. I mean,
I think he tries too hard.
Agree with everything you said. That was pretty awesome analysis. We got to take a week off more often. You were on fire on that one.
I'm watching a lot of golf, Joe.
What I will say though, Scottie, like what crystallized. I like this word, crystallize. What crystallized for me in watching this weekend, or in particular yesterday, Scottie Scheffler. It's so hard for him to bogey a golf hole. And, like, when he bogeys, you're like, holy shit, he actually bogeyed a hole. But, like, even when he bogeys, he, like, barely bogeys a hole.
Yeah.
What you see from a lot of it,
but instead it was a bogey.
Yeah, and, like, the one bogey he had yesterday was, like, complete randomness where it would have been a tap-in birdie, but it hits the sprinkler head and it goes into the water. But, like, what I saw with Burns, what I saw with Hovland, what I saw with Ludvig, what I saw with Sanjay, all these guys made double bogeys on the weekend at some point in time. And, like, that's the thing that Scottie does so well, is that he minimizes mistakes. And then when he gets in a lead in a golf tournament, he's, like, impossible to beat because he's going to give himself 20-foot birdie putts. And sometimes those will go in, right? You saw that on the back nine yesterday. Like, he started making the 20-footers. And he's just a guy that you cannot stop, where these other guys, they feel like they've got to press, and as soon as you press, you start missing it in those spots that you can't miss it on. And in some of these courses, right, like especially at TPC Southwind, there were double bogeys out there. There was triple bogeys out there. Rory found some triple bogeys. Everyone seemed to have those blow up holes except Scott. And like that,
I totally agree. I mean, there's a stat I saw. I can't remember if it was points or dollars or what it was, but the gap between Scottie and Rory is the same as the gap between Rory and the rest of the field. Like his amount of how good he is, if you take out when Rory decides he doesn't want to play golf, is so insane that it's just not remotely close. Which goes back to the point that I would have made if we recorded last week. It's what I said like 7 weeks ago now, that we were talking about who's the player of the year. And we did the halfway point, and I said, I think it's Scottie Scheffler. And you were like, are you your fucking mind? He hasn't won a single tournament other than whatever it was. And we've got guys who've won 2 tournaments, coming on 3, all these stories. This dude took second place in basically every single tournament of the year. He almost won a major twice, but didn't. Stats look like he was better than he was in those, but we watched it. If anything happens, he's there. I'm not using the biases of just yesterday and how ridiculous it was. He's looked one day away all season. The only reason it seems weird to say he's the Tour Player of the Year is because there's other guys who have all these wins. But if he ends up, because of the accumulation of the season, with now 2 wins, let's just assume maybe he wins one of the next 2 of these tournaments. If he wins 2 and is second place like 9 times or 7 times or whatever it is, top 10 15 times, top 5 9 times, and then finishes above everybody in points in every statistical category.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that PGA Tour Player of the Year even mean then? Like, I don't give a shit that you won 1 tournament. Good for you. It's the biggest tournament of your life. This guy took second in every tournament that's the biggest tournament in your life and still won all the rest of them. If he wins the FedEx, which I think he's going to.
I don't listen, like his stats will tell you that he should be Player of the Year, right? He's won twice, a bunch of runner-ups. What I have a hard time wrapping my head around is he hasn't won the 5 biggest tournaments of the year. No matter how you want to paint that, right? Like, yes, he contended, but he didn't win.
NBA thing. The MVP last year makes you feel hard to vote for you this year because you're like, well, last year was so fucking ridiculous. It was historic. This year, it's like, if you were to just take out last year, if you did not have the run he had, and you come into this and you're just like, there's just like 9 guys that we're going to talk about. One of them took second in every single major and every other one. The other guys lost to a guy who wears 2 gloves. Another guy lost to a guy whose mom carries his fucking bag. Another guy hit a ball into the water and pissed away a major. Like, another guy has the putting yips in the middle of the season. He's amazing. Then he's got putting yips and he disappeared for half the season.
Yeah, I don't think you could give it to Cam Young. I would agree with you on that.
No, he's done. He peaked too early. And I think you can't give it to Fitzpatrick either. He peaked too early.
Well, when you look at Fitz, right, he's won 3 times, but only 1 was a signature event, and he's got no majors. I mean, Scottie's probably going to win it because Rory outside of the Masters has been terrible, right? Like literally, like what I know he
and there's no way they're rewarding him after this year.
No, agreed.
No, unless he won the FedEx tournament. If he won the FedEx,
Rory the quiet quitter. Like he's just quietly quitting the 2026 season.
He's the fucking quiet quitter is the best. That is the best way to describe this experience. I just think I've said this to you before. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but it started in betting, but it's not just betting. It's like fandom. When I think of seasons, whether it's NFL or it's basketball or it's golf. When I think of the awards of the season or whatever, and again, Bill Simmons does this on his show all the time. He'll talk about Hall of Fame. When I think of the Hall of Fame, I think of what's your Hall of Fame moment. And if I can't come up with one, it's really hard for me to envision you in the Hall of Fame. When I think about winning big awards, I think of who do I think of at the end of the year? And what do I think of each player? If you were to ask me, if you ask me Fitzpatrick, who I absolutely love, and now I'm using his Bettinardi BB48 Fitz putter, so all fanned up. I think of him bringing his brother on the tour. as good as he's been. That's really the story I think of. When I think of Cam Young.
Yeah, that's the best storyline. I still think that's the best storyline of the season.
It is, but like when I think of him, that's it. That's not PGA Tour Player of the Year.
No, that's not Player of the Year. That's a great story.
Cam Young, I think of that incredible, like him having the balls to call himself out. And it's like, oh my God, this guy's in total control of his game. This is a guy who we talked about, is he on the Mount Rushmore? And it's immediately followed up by him having the yips and disappearing the rest of the time. Got her up is a really good story, but he won kind of lopsided stuff. And then when I go over to like Tom Kim is not in this contention, but like I think of him, like that's a comeback story. When I think of Scottie Scheffler, and I'm not just talking about the tour Player of the Year. When I think of Scheffler, I literally think of a guy who took second place at every single major tournament the entire year long. And like for some reason, it was bad putting or it was bad Thursdays, it was whatever, but he was literally in the running for every single tournament. And if he ends up winning it, it's like, Jesus Christ. Like the consistency and the level is so ridiculous that like no one else could there was nobody else next to him like that the whole year. And to me, that's the memory and that's the award. That's how I would.
I think you're right. I think the guy that could have taken it from him is Cam, right? Because it looked like he had the Open Championship, right? And if he's got the Open Championship and the Players, it's over, right? Like it is,
different
right?
story.
No matter the fact that he had the putter yips for a little bit, at that point he would have had a major, he would have had the fifth major, and he would have had a signature event at Doral.
And he'll finish in the top 20 for the FedEx.
That would have been case closed on that. Ryan Fox had other ideas, and he won the Open Championship. So yeah, I think it's probably Scottie. As much as I love golf, I just don't like the Player of the Year stuff. I don't care.
You can't even bet on it. I tried to find it. You can't bet on it.
You know what I'm trying to find? Going back to your Sungjae Im call, which I love, I want to bet him to win the Tour Championship because he's still on the outside looking in. He's playing great right now. He has great course history at Eastlake. Like, can you find that for us? Because I want to bet that.
I will see if I can find it. If so, count me in on that bet. You mentioned Ryan Fox. I just want to say this real quick. Have you heard? He plays fast. Have you heard that? Anyone ever tell you about Ryan Fox? Plays really, really fast, this guy. He's so fast his caddy can't keep up, this guy. He's
I was going to say, so fast that he played himself out of that tournament last weekend that fast.
That was the only bet I put money on this weekend. It was a complete never showed up. I was like,
what I will,
he looked good the week before.
Before we move off of St. Jude, what I will say that I want to commend TPC Southwind is that I love courses where you can shoot a 61 or 62 like Scottie and Burns did, but you've also got like 60% of the field that are struggling to break par, right? That to me is the sign of a really good course, right? Where, hey, it is punishing if you're not on your game and you're missing your targets and your spots. There are double bogeys and triple bogeys awaiting you. And if you're playing really well, like Scottie and Burns did on certain days, there are birdies out there. I love those type of courses where it's not just a birdie fest for everyone. It's like, yeah, there are birdies out there, but it's not going to be for everyone, and people are going to be grinding because then you get a tournament usually, if you don't have Scottie that's playing unbelievable, where on that back nine, 2 or 3 shots can be made up pretty quickly, right? So just it's a proper test for the top 70 players. It's a good playoff event. I think they're moving it. I don't know. There's all sorts of things changing.
That's a conversation.
They need to figure out a way to keep that course on the rotation because it's a great course.
Well, what does that course play have not in common with the past like 3 or 4 tournaments? And that is that's not the way those courses play. Everyone can light it up. And I think that's why you saw some of the young guns we're talking about. You got a lesser field and a field in a course that can kind of be had all day long every day, and it's a matter who stacks up the most birdies. This is the kind of course that it just gets harder from here, by the way, until Eastlake. These are the courses that the top players divide themselves, and yeah, a couple of them will shit the bed, but for the most part, I think if you go back and look at all the finishing lines yesterday, it's real clear. You look at the top, there's like one kind of young gun up and comer that's made their way into the top 15, and everything else is exactly, like you would have predicted before the season started. So all I can say is there's like 70 fucking ridiculous PGA Tour players out there right now. That's awesome.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And 50 of them are teeing up next week at the BMW Championship. So in going back to the Cael conversation, I hope you've got all the inside info. Hopefully it helped everyone kind of inform their bets and how they want to watch it. But I'm curious. He named a few. Ludvig, Scheffler he liked. What do you think? Where are you at with your like general, not just who, but like what are the kind of players that you're expecting? Is this going to be like a major and you expect it to only be really the top 10 players in the world really contending and there's not a whole lot of people leaking into it? Or is this something where you're like, hey, there's 50 guys who have a chance?
Yeah, it's probably not all 50, but what I would say is it's a PGA Championship course, right? It hosted it in 2018, and when you and I previewed the PGA Championship earlier this year, one of the things that we talked about was PGA Championship tends to have once every couple of years there's a random winner that kind of stumbles in, and we had it this year with Aaron Rai, right? No one had him on their radar at Aronimink, so I don't want to say it's just those top 5 guys. What I will tell you that's like it's a little jarring because we have been doing this all year, and you're playing even the signature events, right? They still have depending on the fields at least 75 guys. What you're seeing now with 50, the odds stink. Let's just say that, right? Like I'm looking at it right now. I like Ludvig. Ludvig's 18-1. You're telling me a guy that can't seem to win a tournament is 18-1 at this type of course with 49 of the best players in the world. I just don't love some of the numbers I'm seeing on the top guys. Now Scottie is now he has been the clear favorite, but remember there was that point in time where Rory was kind of closing the gap.
Yeah, not anymore.
Look at this on DraftKings. Scottie, yeah, you're right. Scottie, it's 5x. Scottie is 3-1. Rory is 15-1. So that is definitely that's definitely just telling of Rory not being very engaged. I mean, the guy I like Sanjay at 61-1. His iron play is a strength of his. I'm probably going to do top 10 with Adam Scott. He's just a guy that he kind of popped up a little bit in Memphis. I'm waiting for Adam Scott to be relevant in a tournament this year, and I feel like I got to go out with him because I've given his name a couple times and he hasn't come through for us. I mean, if you're going down, there's not Christopher Reeton is a great driver of the golf ball. He's won once. He's won a signature event this year. He's 86-1, so there's some value there. Probably will play Wyndham, 33-1. It's just when Wyndham's on, he's one of the the guys that can win the biggest golf tournaments in the world, which is certainly one. I like what Cousin Cael mentioned. I think Hideki is knocking on the door. You and I have tried to figure out Xander this year and pick his spot. We haven't come close. I'm gonna say he's a fade along with Rory.
I've had him in a few top 10s. I've won in top 10s. With him.
Which is fine. It's just you're not gonna get a whole lot of value. Is there anyone kind of going under the radar that you like?
I mean, I always have just at a BMW. I just always have a little eyeball on Minwoo Kim, sorry.
You just Minwoo Lee?
Minwoo Lee. I'm looking at 3 in a row, man. Don't crush me.
You're mixing Siwoo Kim, Tom Kim, Minwoo Lee.
I have in a row on my list Siwoo Kim, Matsuyama. I didn't even put Hideki because there was too many vowels going in a row. Colin Morikawa is on the other side of Justin Thomas. And then it goes Wyndham, just the word Wyndham, Minwoo Lee, and Kitayama, but it just says Kita. So I'm looking at this list Minwoo, Kim Lee, Jack.
I like Kitayama.
Minwoo Lee, who's playing the recently released MB Raw Tour Callaway blades that were sick and sold out in 2 minutes. He is a craftsman that doesn't win when it really matters. He wins the ones that are kind of cool or plays and contends the ones that are really cool right before the ones that matter. And I just think he's a player who, again, to Cael's point, weather permitted, could be a really interesting pick that's great value. I might put him in a top 20 and then sprinkle something on a win or a top 5. I don't actually think he's going to win, but he's a person who could go really, really low. I think I'm not totally sure in my head yet. It'll take me a day or two on Sam Burns. Is he going to come back pissed and play better? And Scottie maybe takes a little off because he's did the win and I'm here, guys. I fucking crushed you. Or, and this is of course of no value. I get that. Or does Scottie like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I've been better than you all year. I just won by 8. It took no stress off of me. And I'm going to come out and do it again. And he's just going to clean the house, and that'll be the end of it. I wouldn't be shocked.
I honestly think that that's probably the likely outcome. So, we've recommended this a couple times this year. Winner without Scottie market, you might start looking at that again, just because.
Yeah, which is back.
It's kind of back. I mean, based on dude, when he's putting the way he putted this past weekend, he's nearly impossible to beat. He just is, because he doesn't make too many mistakes, and if he's draining 20-footers on a decently regular basis, like, he's good luck.
And also leading the field in driving with his new QI 4D that he put in his bag and fucking dominated with.
Yeah, I mean, it's clicking. What I would say, right, which we've talked about previously, Scottie likes courses that he's played before. I would imagine he's not played Bellerive. I don't think he was on tour back in 18. Like, he might have been Corn Ferry at that point. I don't think he played in that PGA Championship, so that's the only call out, right? This isn't Memphis, right, where it's the same course year in and year out. The BMW does rotate courses just like a major championship does. So that's the only interesting call out that I would say, is he doesn't have the course history there.
I think that if you're going into this weekend without tickets on Siwoo Kim and Chris Gotterup, given how they've been playing and the fact that this is that tournament that's in between the two tournaments, Gotterup's got something to play for real. Kim, if he plays the way he has the last 5 weeks, he'll continue on to the next one. So I really like them. They're underweighted right now. If you want to do like a top 10 or a top 5, it's not quite as good a value. But if you put them in top 5 or a win, I like them a lot. If I were to run through the list, I genuinely just think Scottie Scheffler, I think he's going to win. Like, I know this sounds stupid, but it's like if he shows up the first day and he's within 5 strokes, I probably would watch that all weekend long and expect him, honestly, to win. I think that Justin Thomas is another one that's kind of sneaky out there. Like, he can step up and win. He's won before, BMW. Like, I like him a lot. I would probably put him in a top 10. In my top 20s, if you're going for value, I do like Min-Woo Lee, just to be clear.
There you go.
Lee. And if I wanted to, and if I wanted to like start, putting together parlays, I think you can't deny, you need a lock at a 10. To me, a top 5 or a top 10 lock is Sungjae Im is in one of those two. I think Schauffele's probably in a top 10. I actually would, if I had to peg it, I'd say he's a 6. I would call, if I could bet on exact position, I would say he's a 6. So like, what I didn't say is Rory McIlroy. I don't believe that. Would not surprise me with Hovland or Åberg or Åberg, but I just don't. I'm not picking guys to win until I see them on a run that looks like they're leading in that way. And when I see you finish a Sunday going positive, that's not where I want to put my money.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I think what we've both been doing this year, which I'm going to continue to do, is listen. I don't love the numbers right now. When you don't love a number, have your list of guys that you want to monitor and wait, right? Like, I loved Sam Burns last week. I didn't love his number. He was at like 22 to 1. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not betting him at 22 to 1. After Friday's round, he got all the way to 140 to 1, right? And then he was second going into Sunday, right? So pick the guys that you think are going to play well, monitor them on Thursday, and like, hey, if Ludvig's your guy and he might start off on fire, or maybe he starts off 1 or 2 over and he's like stuck in neutral, and all of a sudden that 18 to 1 number, which had no value to it, becomes 70 to 1, and he's still got 60 plus holes to play in the tournament, right?
Yep.
So there's always making those moves on Thursday and Friday when there's still a lot of golf to play. I love doing. Less a fan of that, after Saturday, because then you've only got 18 holes, but look for that value, after first round and after the second round. and see who you want to ride into the weekend. But I think the guys that you've listed and I've listed, good majority of them are going to be in contention. And I don't know, just with Cousin Cael and like I know he's going to be on that 18th green. Like I can't shake the fact that it's going to be someone that I think is very appealing to the brand and to the masses, whether that's Minwoo, which I think that their social media team would have a blast with, or Ludvig, just because Ludvig looks like he belongs in a BMW, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't shake that, like, it's going to be someone that just, when you think of BMW Championship, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense that guy won.
Well, hopefully for Cousin Cael's position, it's Tommy Fleetwood, and then they can show the picture.
We do have to throw some money on that. We do have to throw some money.
You do, but here's the fun part is they're going to have to show a picture of his parking spot and Wheelad's parking spot where he had the Porsche parked. They have to blur it out. They can just show the signs as Tommy Fleetwood's parking spot. No car.
Try and be hardest.
Try to be hardest. I tried to be hardest today. Hopefully we have a good tournament and win a little bit.
I think we will, man. We'll be back for Tour Championship, and we'll put a bow on. I'm sure after that we'll put a bow on the season, and we will still keep doing shows because I know you and me are probably the only two guys in our group of friends that pays attention to the fall events on the PGA Tour. I love them for gambling. Love them for like those are my favorite tournaments to gamble on because like goodbye Scottie, goodbye the top 20 guys, and like. That's where you get value because you're not really worried about like a superstar running away with that tournament, right? Like, so you get a guy that you like it.
A lot of Pearson Cootie picks going out.
Pearson Cootie for sure, absolutely, man. There's going to be some guy, Mac Mesner. I know we're going to circle a couple of different times.
Yeah, thanks for that pick 2 weeks ago. That fucking did not work out for us. But it was a week ago, so it doesn't count. It's gone, over already.
Hey, my guy Michael Brennan did win after I got off of him, so you're welcome.
As they usually, that's usually when I pick him up. Is once you go off, it's usually when I grab him.
Yeah. I mean, that's been that year. That's been that kind of year. All right, buddy.
Can't win them all. All right, man. We'll see you next week.
See you, buddy. Bye.
Take care.